Hello and welcome to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am your host, Blaine Bartlett. And we have got, I think, what's going to be one of the most fascinating interviews that I've done in a while, particularly given some of the interests that I have around compassionate capitalism and what that actually means for the health and well-being of the planet and everything that lives on the planet. My guest today, David Katz, is the founder and CEO of Plastic Bank. And we're going to talk a little bit about a number of things. But one thing I want to mark out just right up front is a factoid that I came across when I was writing Compassionate Capitalism. And that is it's a sobering thought that there's actually more plastic by weight in the oceans of the earth than there are fish. And when I first came across that, it just gave me pause. And it was like, are you serious? And the idea of throwing things away, where is away? Well, away for a lot of people ends up being the ocean. And the consequence of that is pretty dramatic. David, I want to welcome you to the show and thank you for taking the time to have a conversation.
That's kind, Blaine. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, for those of you that may be familiar or may not be familiar with Plastic Bank, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and actually what the intent of the organization is? Because you've got, I think, a fairly profound mission, that you're working with here.
Ooh, lots inside of that, Blaine. How did I get started? I mean, I got started because I had compassion in my heart. Where did the compassion in my heart come from? I think that's a bit of a deeper, more esoteric conversation. But certainly, I grew up on the west coast of Canada. I grew up on an island, began witnessing the degradation of the ocean 35 years ago, and it's been with me since. And I've always been an entrepreneur. I've, in fact, never had a job. So I've always just been in solutions and finding solution. And a part of my way of being is to try to keep people from experiencing the same pain that I've experienced. And it shows up in a variety of different ways. And as we are all the products of every decision, every experience we've ever made, and here's a result of all of that, combined with a sprinkling of compassion and stewardship, and out comes the Plastic Bank. And the Plastic Bank is a global chain of stores for the poor, where everything in the store could be purchased using plastic garbage, like school tuition and medical insurance and Wi-Fi and cooking fuel and water, everything the poor truly need and powerfully struggle to afford, now available using what would have otherwise flowed into the ocean. That plastic that we...
Yeah. So and for those of you that just kind of missed that as he was talking about it, we can buy basic sundries, basic needs for life and for living by using what would otherwise be trash plastic.
Correct.
How does that work?
Well, we're more like a global chain of bank branches.
As a currency.
That's what we've created. We've actually created a monetary standard for the material that uses a blockchain-based banking application that allows the world to collect and then transact material as a currency. And the more frequently that they collect and return that, they also earn credit rating, financial inclusion, access to other insurance products, access to borrow money and other things as well. So it truly is a currency out of material resources. Now, I would always ask every audience, if every bottle, I'll use that as a metaphor, if every bottle, like every piece of packaging, everything that you ever saw that was plastic, if every bottle you saw was $5, how many would we see in the ocean? None.
Yeah.
So it's not the plastic, it's us. So that's what we've done. And we've changed the paradigm of the material. So people view it differently. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm. So in my vernacular, basically what you've done is you've shifted the context. So
sure.
A different behavior becomes meaningful. And
sure.
That's not an easy thing to accomplish.
I'm playing on that on the words there as they struck me. We didn't change a behavior. We created a different way of thinking that then resulted in a different behavior.
Well, that's my point. By thinking differently, I mean, Wayne Wyer's whole point about you change the way you look at things and you change how things look.
Correct.
And all of a sudden now plastic becomes something that's not tossed. It becomes something that has value.
Correct.
So let's find a way to transact that value.
Yeah. Precisely.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I'm just going to mark this out because I think it's important for folks to know. This is an internationally recognized solution. This isn't something that isn't tried and tested.
Yeah.
You've got some amazing partners lined up with this: Procter and Gamble, Johnson, Henkel, uh, Carlton
Yeah.
Packing, Advanza. I mean, you've got some big names that have
Yeah.
said yes to this.
Yeah, Coca-Cola, Gillette, all kinds of great things. We started off in Haiti, then we went to the Philippines, or Indonesia, Brazil, Egypt. We're now opening Thailand, Cameroon, next year Tanzania, Kenya. We're the world's largest provider of marine-based debris for manufacturing. To close the loop on all of it, all the material we collect, we call that social plastic. Social plastic we offer to the greatest brands in the world that want to connect with their consumer, to exhibit the authenticity of their messaging. Although plastic has to be used, we're beyond the tipping point of replacing plastic, as many people may be triggered by that conversation. That's a fact. And that plastic, at least, is not virgin material, and it's kept from flowing into the ocean, and it creates an economic opportunity for the world that lifts society from poverty and ends suffering. That social plastic we put back into packaging. Go buy a bottle of Windex, and that's social plastic. When you buy that bottle of Windex, you would in fact be removing plastic from ocean-bound waterways hand in hand with the world's poor, and helping end some suffering somewhere simultaneously.
Yeah. See, and that model is just brilliant, and things are kept track of using the blockchain as a mechanism. When I first came across this, I mentioned that I have house guests with me this last couple of days, and just talking in an abstraction. The older we get, the more likely we are to want to have things be simple and easy. And I find that this is actually one of the more elegant solutions to a pernicious problem that I've actually ever seen. And I'd be very interested in hearing the narrative that you use to bring some of these larger organizations on board. What was the storyline?
Well, I think importantly in this conversation, and when we're talking about business in the end, I think it's important to express that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. We can't convince anyone to do anything they don't. And if they're a brand that doesn't care, that is really focused on shareholder, return at the expense of all other life on the planet, so be it. We find people who want what we have. I'm trying to really be simple here, in that we find those organizations that have stewardship of the earth, sustainability inside of them, stewardship of humanity at their core. And those are the ones that understand and need to participate and want to participate. And they participate because not only is it their authenticity, but they recognize that the new generation of consumer, the 10-year-old today, the 15-year-old, this Greta generation that had millions of children marching through the streets against the degradation that's occurred already. They're not marching against something that might be coming. They're marching against what's already unfolded.
Yeah.
And they're standing for it. Like, if you look at the proliferation of used clothing stores and the other ones, like they're not concerned with consumerism anymore. And that generation the messaging isn't like, don't give me what I want. I don't care about what thing. I want you to support what I believe in. That's the next generation of consumers. So the people who are going to be buying things are going to buy things that support what they truly believe in. Ocean stewardship of humanity is powerfully at the forefront of those thoughts. And they're racing to create that. Because if you overinvest in what is and underinvest in what will be, you won't be in business. So smart organizations invest in the future.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky, skate to where the puck's
exactly.
I don't mean to be cliche or even diminishing about that, but that's essentially what
that is exactly it.
Yeah,
that's just business. That's business 101 as well. Well, I guess it's not business 101, but it should be business 101.
It should be one. Yeah. And the idea of compassionate capitalism, one of the things that you're tapping into that really resonated with me when I started digging into some of the work that you're doing with Plastic Bank, ties back into my notion of compassionate capitalism. Compassion. We had a preliminary conversation before the show here. Look, I'm not going to be compassionate. I'm not going to care about things I don't feel connected to. And connection can be an abstraction. But one of the things that I've, just in doing the research that I did on you and the plastic bag is it's not an abstraction to you. And the operation is fungibly managed and organized and run from the filter of everything is connected.
No question.
No question. It's not an individual silo.
As it is all connected, no question.
As
And if we're in the consideration of it, when you see the interconnectivity of it all really puts you in the place of the infinite, of the abundant, of the universe, which goes on forever. And in whatever your philosophy is, it is the creating of the universe. It is the ongoing, forever ongoing of it. And so when we're in line with the infinite space of things, and of course there's more available for us, but so many organizations sit back in the finite way of being, oh no, I've got a competitor. There's only so much to get. It's finite. And they begin resisting the finite. Of course, that's where we are. And so it's just even, set aside the beauty and spirit of love and service and creating and stewarding others. Even if you're not in that perspective and you're still in the unconscious grips of business and trying to build wealth for yourself for some unknown reason, which is still beautiful and it's an origin, you're still going to be more profitable when you connect into the compassionate world where you are really creating for more people.
Yeah.
There's more profitability there too.
Yeah. The whole, it's an abundant universe. There's no question about that. And there's a paradox in my experience between that notion of an abundant universe and the way that we've traditionally held consumers, or consumption from an economic perspective. The economic model that has evolved is one that's based on scarcity, and it's one that's based on a process of zero-sum interaction.
Correct.
And that's not what you're saying.
Nope. And look where we are as a result of that. Look at the world. Are you kidding me? And then we've been placated into accepting it as, oh, that's the way things are. Now imagine if there was some entity that showed up on Earth and began polluting the ocean the way it is, polluting the environment the way it is, and they started to impose that on us. Do you think it would unify humanity to battle against it?
Yeah.
Of course it would be if it was but it becomes so pervasive, we're not even aware that that's what's occurring. We wouldn't stand up as humanity if someone came up and all of a sudden started killing everything in the ocean, polluting the oceans.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd raise the hackles would be raised.
The hackles are totally. We would all be unified against it, but yet all of a sudden here we are. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Out of sight. It's out of mind.
Totally. It's just business as usual. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just human nature. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was talking with Sadhguru the other day, and he had this fascinating notion, and it has to do with the nature of human nature. And he said, you look at a 5-year-old, and a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 6-year-old is just joyful. And if you look at how nature works, there's a growth process involved. And if you're that joyful at 5 years of age, by the time you're 35, you should be absolutely ecstatic.
Sure.
As opposed to morose and stressed and the human nature is a learned, what we call human nature is a learned phenomena. And
I don't know. I think, I'm just in the semantics of words here. So forgive all of this, because I just love all the conversations. I don't think that's our human nature. I think the human nature is human nature ultimately is abundant, creative, connected to the infinite. Everything is available and possible. When you think of yourself at 1 year old, you don't even know you're separate from the universe. You are the universe. That is the way we're born. We're born that, then humanity then is instilled upon us, our conversation around it, that degrades our ability to be connected to it. Yeah. And another, in some spiritual philosophies, it'll say you have to completely die to be born again. Well, that is the die of the old self, die of those things that someone told us that we are, so we could be connected and be the co-creator.
Yeah. See, and that's absolutely what I'm speaking to around that. And that's where, the idea of compassionate capitalism comes in. I am connected. I am whole. I have access.
Exactly.
Just based on
being. Exactly. For sure. Amen.
Yeah. Give me 5.
Yeah.
I want to take a real quick break here. When we come back, I want to unbundle a little bit here, just from an economic perspective, because this is my take, and I'm very open to having you shoot this down. But at a grassroots level and as actually a subversive, you're actually in the business of changing the nature of economics. And I'm just going to plant that seed and
Sure.
let's see where we can go with that, if in fact there's any
Sure.
there. So we'll be
Sure.
right back after this little
Sure.
brief message. I want to thank you for listening. I want to also invite you right now to go to blainebartlett.com. And on that site, which is my personal website, you'll see services up on the top menu. I'd like you to click on Leadership Mastermind. Now, why I want you to do that is we have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual and it is very powerful. And by going onto that site and clicking that link, you'll be taken to a landing page that is an invitation to join this mastermind. It's a 52-week long exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast-changing environment. You won't regret it. And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business? That's what we look at. That's what we're about in this mastermind program. So again, go to blainebartlett.com and click on the services link, and there you'll find the link to the Leadership Mastermind program. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to this little commercial, and now back to our show. Welcome back. You're listening to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am Blaine Bartlett, and David Katz is my guest today, the CEO and founder of Plastic Bank. And just before we took the break, David, I just suggested, hopefully with not any hyperbole, but while you're in the business of capturing plastic, what you're really in the business of is changing the nature of economics as it's conducted on this planet today, so that it becomes a force for good as opposed to a denigrative force. Would that be a fair assessment?
It's a part of it for sure. I mean, that's underlying all, certainly that's when it occurs en masse. I'm here to create change in the world, recognizing that the ocean can't wait, recognizing that we're nearing, a space where there's more plastic in the ocean than fish, recognizing that we're experiencing the greatest rate of extinction ever. There's no time. So when I look at that and I go upstream to that, well, what's up? What really could change things? Where's the shift, the fastest shift, the quickest shift, of course, is to change that economic model.
Yeah. So how far upstream do you think we need to get to make that shift?
Well, I think, ultimately, there's lots of I have lots of things going through my brain right now, and there's something that I want to express at the same time. So there's 10 trillion kilos of plastic on the earth. Everything we've ever produced is still here. Very little was incinerated, used for energy. It's just fractions. 10 trillion kilo. This year, even with PPE and everything else, we'll use around 500 billion combined virgin plastic recycled material. We have 20 times the mass, the volume of material already on the planet than we could ever use. But we make more all the time. It's almost infinitely recyclable. It's a fallacy to say it's not recyclable. You can add small portions, add some more chemical into it, and it takes on new property. So we don't need any more. So upstream is banning virgin plastic production. That's upstream. That's where we have to go. We're beyond the tipping point of replacing plastic. And if we come up with some alternative, now, believe me, my focus is to stop the flow of plastic from entering the ocean and seeing the degradation of what occurs when we mismanage resources, when we mismanage humanity. That's it. I'm a huge advocate against the use of material. And at the same time, I recognize that we can't replace it, because if we replace plastic with something else, with some alternative, and we eliminate all economic value that is in the existing recycled material or material that's available on the planet, and there's no economic incentive to go get it, we will exacerbate the problem. We're beyond the tipping point. And as many people want to reach out to me and say, oh, I love what you're doing, but you're supposed to be advocating against plastic. There should be no plastic use. We should find alternatives. Oh, okay. I understand your passion, but we're beyond that point.
Mm-hmm.
Ban virgin plastic and the world will change.
Yeah.
But there's 5 big companies that produce it and lobby?
Huge companies that produce it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, going back to the graduate, the future is in plastics.
Right. So
yeah.
Upstream is there.
What's the new future of plastic?
Well, I think that what we find occurring is taxation against virgin material, and governments are starting to show up to create a tax base that should provide incentive for, recycling infrastructure and the incentive to use recycled content. And that's what has to happen. And they have to make the economics change. And once the economics are in favor of using recycled content, then we'll see some change occurring. But it's too little, too slow. How long have we been aware of what's occurring in the ocean? And yet nothing is changing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the travesty on this. It's the glacial speed of which awakening seems to occur.
Oh my goodness. So much in that conversation as well.
Yeah, go down the rabbit hole. I'm with you.
There's just, I think each individual human that I've ever encountered has always said, oh, someone's got to do something about it. Everybody wants to do something about it. And I think that that's the secondary conversation. The first conversation is that I want to do something about it, but I don't know how. And we rely upon others and we're hoping that others are doing it. And people forget how powerful they are. Mm-hmm. And if someone was just to go into a store, I have an audience right now. So I'm asking everyone that might be listening, be bold, be courageous, know that you have power, walk into a store, go ask for the manager and say, could you point out those things that have recycled content in them? Could you show me those items that are regenerative? Could you show me those items that help society? Those are the ones I want to buy. I really want to come to your store. I really love it and I love the service and everything else, but that will make me come here more often. Even if he doesn't have anything, he'll go, oh, people are asking. Yeah. And I'll assure you that the big brands, you as the consumer are not their customer. You are not the customer. The retailer is their customer. You are the customer of the retailer. The big brands will give the retailers what the retailers ask for. The retailer will provide what you ask for. You have the power where you are. Be bold, be courageous, go there, create the space for other people to do the same thing. We have the power in our hands now with what we have to make the change.
Change occurs at a local level. It doesn't
Correct.
occur, And I love how you're positioning that because when we start thinking about global problems, it is overwhelming just by definition. And I love what Greta, you brought her up earlier. I think the power that was, the power of that movement had to do with the way that she was able to localize the voice. Yeah, and bring it home. And I'm very fond of saying that, and this is where facts and figures get kind of obfuscating in one sense. Communication is a very localized process, and it's not a logical process. It's a biological process. What moves me? What moves you? That's where action starts to come into play here. So what I'm hearing, just in this. Positioning is that I have the power to locally have a conversation in a way that will move somebody that is actually going to make a buying decision, not just me, but the local retailer. And in one sense, I have a moral responsibility. And this is where I go back to compassionate capitalism again. If I'm not feeling connected, I'm not going to do that. If I'm feeling connected to my local grocer,
exactly,
connected to my
and when he feels connected to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when he feels connected to you, it's like you're getting an email from someone in Switzerland or the guy that lives down the road. On and on. Local action for global result. And there's power where you are.
And we hear that, but I want to bring that home because it's not a cliche. That is how things get changed. Yeah. It's local action.
I would add to that is a super easy way for change to begin. Change can occur on all levels simultaneously, But certainly we all get overwhelmed, and the origin of the conversation was like, I want someone else to do it because I don't know what to do. So don't be dismayed by the enormity of the task, because it is very localized, and you can begin where you are. And you can have an effect on other programs, and you can, go to congressmen, or you can do other things, start petitioning for change, advocate against virgin plastic production, do other things as well. And you get to be exactly where you are. And you don't have to do all of it. Just do one of them.
Just one. Yeah. I live here on an island. You and I have had this conversation. I can see your island, Vancouver Island, where I'm at here on Whidbey Island. But the recycling, plastics get separated from tin, or from what used to be called tin is now aluminum. But the idea that that's something that I can do. It's a little bit of an aggravation sometimes to separate that stuff, but so what?
So what, exactly.
That's a price that is a very small price for me to pay.
Sure, bigger aggravation to not have that's marine life to go experience. I think that's a bigger aggravation.
That's the when I start putting it in that framing, it's kind of like, exactly. What's the bigger aggravation?
Exactly.
And what's the consequence of my action? What is something? If you had a magic wand and could wave it right now, and I know that we've been talking about plastics in the ocean and whatnot, but how would you like to see business operate if you had a magic wand and you can say, I understand you need to be making a profit in order to be viable as a business. What would you like to see different in the way that businesses conduct themselves?
Well, it's regenerative. We truly are entering the regeneration economy. And even Greta, fighting against the damage that's been done. They're not looking to say, stop doing the damage. They're looking for us to repair the damage. That's the next generation. Regeneration, a regenerative business model truly is abundant. It's creating more. It's adding more. It's doing more. There's more value, more everything. There's more.
From my perspective, there's an incredible economic opportunity in this regenerative movement.
No question. No, and if you're a businessman and you show up and say, you know what, we're going to repair not just our damage, but I'm going to repair the damage of my competitors as well. I'm going to own it all. Well, okay, there's a blue ocean strategy. Pun intended, but it's there. So the blue ocean strategy, you want to be in the non-competitive field, you go out and start telling the world that you're repairing the damage that's been done, and you will win the hearts of people, and they will pay more, and they will be more loyal, and they will complain when they need to, so that you could become better, because they want to participate themselves in the repair. Just as we said, everyone wants to do something about it. They don't know how, but if you're the one and they go, oh, you're doing it and I can just join you. Fantastic.
Become a second follower.
Exactly.
Or a first follower, what the heck?
One thing that I wanted to mention as well, because we even the ocean, we have Earth Day, Oceans Day wasn't long ago, and I'm 100% convinced. I'm in the knowing. I'd go as far as knowing that the ocean is going to be swimming with life, just comprehensively abundant. There's going to be more marine life in the ocean than we've ever experienced. And life on land as well is going to be absolutely flourishing. I'm not convinced we'll be here to witness it, but the Earth is going to be fine. Absolutely fine. So the conversation of, Earth Day, well, it's not Earth Day, it's Save Humanity Day. And we give like 1 day out of 365 days of the year to kind of say, and only like 5% of the population participates in the Save Humanity Day. They should just call it what it is.
Yeah. That is a great point. I love that. Where can people find out more about Plastic Bank?
Well, plasticbank.com, of course. Go view, see what we're doing, learn more about us, participate, put your email address down so we can communicate with you as well. And there's just so many other resources. There's a newsletter and stuff. There's all of those minor, things. But the way we really want you to participate is we want you to go into a store and go ask that retailer to start asking their suppliers for products that are packaged with something that repairs the earth. If you want to help, don't go to my website. You know what? Don't go to the website. Go into your retailer and ask them for change. Who cares about our website?
Yeah. It's a simple message. Just go do something that makes a difference.
Yep.
Which kind of leads to my last question here for you. How are you leaving it better than you found it? It's almost a
inside
redundant question.
almost, but so inside of all of that though, that it's really the conversation of who I am, and it's who I get to become in the world. And so I'm leaving it better by creating a better space of my living in the world, like of my being in the world, not where I live, but in my living, in my being of the world, and how I stand for it, and how I use my word, and how I invite people into a new way of thinking. It's so much easier than anyone could ever possibly imagine. And you just speak it into reality. That is the way that it works. You speak into creation, and that's just speak, begin speaking, get feedback, continue speaking, and create the world differently.
First, there was the word.
Amen.
Amen. My guest today, David Katz, founder, CEO of Plastic Bank. David, thank you. I mean, I love this conversation. I've had chills kind of going through me as we've been talking. I just love the energy. I really do. And I absolutely love what you guys are up to.
Thank you very much.
It couldn't be more consistent and more aligned with the notion of compassionate capitalism. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure to be here, and your questions as well. Beautiful.
Great. Thank you. This is Blaine Bartlett. You've been listening to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. You can find out more about what I'm up to at blainebartlett.com, and just check out the resources. There will be a link, a video link to this podcast, so that you can actually get a full immersive experience of what I've been looking at here and experiencing as I've been talking. Again, my guest today, David Katz, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.